welcome back to the AI Marketers Playbook, where we cover actionable frameworks to help you leverage AI and marketing strategies in your business. I'm Audrey Chia, your host, and today I have with me Magdalena Orascanin, an AI consultant, HR strategist, and the founder of Magnate HR. Now, with over 15 years of experience transforming HR through innovation, Magdalena has trained and advised global companies like Danone and LVMH. Now, Magdalena is also known for bridging the gap between cutting-edge tech and people-first leadership, and today she's here to show us what responsible AI adoption in HR really looks like. Magdalena, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Audrey. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me and for inviting me. I feel so honored, and I'm super happy to talk to you today about this super exciting topic.
Yes, I think I've never had a guest in the HR space, and I've never had a guest who uses AI in this space. So lots to unpack. Can you tell us more about your journey before AI, and how did you get started with integrating AI into your own processes?
Super happy to do that. So basically, I am coming from the HR side, right? I do not have a technical background. And sometimes, people think that I have a technical background, and I always say I don't. And I'm actually proud of it because I managed to, also work in this field. And I have worked in HR for the past 12 years. And after, the whole launch with ChatGPT and everything came up like 2 to 3 years ago, I was like, okay, wow, this is something like this is the next big thing, I was thinking. And then I thought, but yeah, what am I going to do about it? Like, how am I going to work with this? Because I don't understand anything about it. I'm not coding. I don't have any IT background. I'm coming from HR. But then I thought, okay, let me just, try to solve my everyday issues, like my everyday workflows and things that I'm doing, and I just simply started. I think I started like most of the people. I was having this wow effect with, oh my God, it's writing an email, like so nice. And then I just started with this, and I realized I can answer to so many candidates or employee requests within the company using AI to help me, using ChatGPT or any other large language model. And I started to experiment more and more. I got so much fascinated about all of this. And then I realized that it can actually do so much more. And kind of, what happened, Audrey? It was just, I was so enthusiastic that I started to speak about it. And people were like, oh, this is interesting. Tell me about it. Can you show me how you done it, etc. And kind of naturally, it just happened that I said, okay, I'm already explaining it to people. Why not trying to, train people, like really on a business level? And that's how I started, with my own company. I just founded Magnate. And then I thought, okay, let's go all in and train HR people on how to use AI in their everyday work life, because there is so much that we can do. So this is basically how my journey started. And this is also what I say to so many people. You do not need to have a technical background. You just need to be super curious, and you need to know, what do you actually want to solve with it? Like, what is the problem you want to solve? And then just start experimenting. And I cannot say it more often enough. We need domain experts. We really need people that are coming from different business areas. Obviously, we also need all of our technical guys. I love you. But we need domain experts, For example, I know a wonderful lady. She's working in the intersection of finance and AI, and she has the background in finance, and she's bridging the gap. People coming from marketing, people coming from other, parts. So I'm coming from HR, and I'm basically just bridging the gap between AI and HR, and I love it.
Wow. And I love that you bring such enthusiasm. There are a lot of people who are still on the fence, but like what you said, right? Being open to learn, being able to bring your domain expertise, and then plugging in the gaps with AI, that definitely helps a lot in the growth of anyone's personal development as well as career development. Now, I would love to know, what are some things you used to do more manually that is now, a lot more efficient with AI? What are some real world use cases for you guys?
There are tons of them. So I have also, created like a whole Notion library of it. I think I have like over 1,000 use cases that I'm covering in HR, but just to give you a few examples. So one of the like most common ones is writing job descriptions, for example. This is, in the beginning or some years ago, it was just a pain, Audrey, because if you are in HR, you obviously know about all the other business segments, but you do not understand fully everything. If you are working in a very technical environment, or I don't know, for example, in manufacturing, and now you are looking for a very, very specialized role, and the hiring manager comes to you. So usually it's the two of you sitting together, brainstorming, thinking about how we're going to write this job description. Obviously, as a big company, you usually already have some job descriptions, but then you want to change some things, some responsibilities, etc. And it would always take a lot of time because you need to make time for the HR person, you need to make time for the hiring manager to write this job description. And now with, any large language models, you can basically do this in seconds. And it's very, very easy. So this is one of the easiest, I would say, use cases where you can start to implement AI for HR as of now. And you can even use any free version. It will still be a good output. So it's not even that you need to put any money in there to make it happen, but you can use it and start low budget, just to give you an example. Or you can use it for any type of employee communication. Not delivering bad news. This is something I would always keep human.
Yes,
So if you
yes.
want to, if you have to let someone go, or if you have to deliver any type of bad news, please don't use AI for that. I think, we still need to keep the empathy. But for example, I don't know, talking about onboarding, you can basically automate the whole process. How draining is this whole process of onboarding new employees, sending out all of these emails, sending out all of the calendar invites, because the person that starts needs to meet with X, Y, Z, get to know people X, Y, Z in this and that part of the company. You can automate all of these things. It's super easy. It's very efficient, and it's better for the HR team. And it's also very much pleasant for the employee joining because no one gets overwhelmed so much. Then talking about recruitment, which is basically one of the next HR practices. I am not a fan of resume screening with AI. And this is what I always say, because AI doesn't get the nuances. It cannot feel those big differences. I mean, natural language processing, yes, it's fantastic. And you can do a lot of things. It can read CVs even beyond some keywords. But talking about specialized roles, I'm not recommending it. But the thing here is there are tons of other use cases in recruitment. So we talked about the job description. Then there is, for example, transcribing interviews. If you and I are sitting in an interview and I'm the recruiter, usually I would sit there and take notes, right? It can be by hand, it can be on my, iPad, laptop, whatever, but I cannot fully concentrate. So you can use, Firefly's AI, for example, or any other transcription tool. Always please ask the candidate first if they are okay with that. But this is another use case. Then obviously any type of communication, if you want to reject candidates, if you have, 10, 12, 20 candidates to reject, you can write one email, you can automate all of these processes. And this is fantastic. Learning and development, my absolutely favorite. So in minutes, you can create personalized learning paths for people in your organization. And I think this is something where most of the organizations have been struggling throughout the last years. We were talking a lot about talent shortage or, qualified people leaving a company because nothing is happening. Everyone was so drained in admin work, they couldn't focus on all the hundreds of thousands of candidates, employees to develop them. And now with AI, this is actually possible. And what I think is the key here is to step away from the fear. People are so afraid sometimes, like, oh, AI is going to take my job or I'm going to be made redundant. Instead of working against each other, let's work together with it and see also the positive sides.
Those are so many great points to unpack. I know a lot of our listeners will be on the job application, portals, right? And they'll be wondering, should I be using AI to craft my CV or resume? What are your thoughts on that?
Should, definitely. So I think it was a month ago that I gave an interview for a UK newspaper, especially on this topic, talking about how candidates can use AI for their job search. So basically, the main message that I gave was you should definitely use it and you can use it, but always keep the human oversight. This goes for everything, right? We expect this from companies. And so do I, from a company perspective, also expect this from a candidate. If you have created a CV without even reading through it with AI and you send it out to me, I will probably realize as the recruiter or hiring manager. But you are a real person. So you want to make sure that you and your character is basically coming across in this application. So make sure that it's not making things up. We all know about hallucination, etc. But on the other side, I think definitely you should use it, because if we are thinking ahead, for example, and we're talking about AI is here to stay, right? I want to hire people that are AI literate. And if they are already using AI and experimenting with AI when it comes to the job search, For me, this is a very, very positive aspect, actually. If I hear from companies, they're like, I don't like AI generated applications. I'm like, why? Because then I would think twice, is this company even considering AI or not? Because if I am the type of person that wants to work in a future-oriented environment, those are the things that you can, look out for. You can ask them, what is their opinion in that? If they are against AI generated stuff, then probably they are not so much into AI. See what I mean? So
It's
basically,
the
it's
right
both sides.
fit, right?
Yes.
Wow, interesting. I think even for copywriting, right? It's very clear when it's just flat out AI versus when you add your human touch, when you tweak the copy and add real world stories. But in the case of a CV or resume, right, I think a lot of candidates, they are also not too sure what, number one, what they should include. Number two, are they supposed to stuff keywords since there are more AI, reviews right now? What is the right balance? How do they balance human and AI when it comes to this space?
Oh my God. So this is a topic I could talk about for the rest of the day, talking about this whole keyword myth, etc. So I need to explain a little bit. If you apply for a job, usually your CV gets parsed by an applicant tracking system. Those systems, in short, are called ATS. Everyone has heard about it. And I know that almost everyone in our life came across at least one. One of the most common ones is probably Workday. For sure, everyone has heard about it. There is Workday, there is Taleo, there is Smart Recruiters, etc. So when you hit apply and you upload your CV gets parsed in the applicant tracking system. There is no AI involved. I really want to make this clear. There is no AI involved because those ATS systems, they exist for the past 20, 25 years. Has nothing to do with AI. It's simply a parsing system. It takes your information and puts it in the form that I have on my company site so that I can see what is your name, what is your address, what is your experience, and that every candidate has exactly the same form. So now imagine I am a company with, I don't know, 20 open jobs at the same time. If I would receive all these applications via email, how would I be able to track that? It's impossible. That's why those applicant tracking systems exist. And for each application, it goes into one open job requisition. Because, for example, I'm hiring a human resource business partner, then I'm looking for a marketing manager and for a finance specialist. 3 completely different roles. But I make sure that I have the right candidates in the right job requisition, which is open at the time. What are many people mistaken today, and I can see it on LinkedIn every day. I'm getting
Yes, I see
furious.
so many of that. Tell us, tell us.
I'm getting furious because it's so hard to explain. Sometimes I have the feeling people don't want to listen because they are like, no, but I got rejected by an AI. No, no, no. I can tell you there are almost none ATS that are using AI by now because
Oh,
companies are
wow.
aware of how
Yes.
bad it is to use them for screening. What happens is, again, your information gets parsed into the system and the recruiter looks at you. Now, bad recruiters do exist. I mean, I have been a recruiter myself, I don't know, 12 or 13 years ago, and I will be super honest to you. Sometimes you are just tired. You are just tired. After reviewing 100, 200 CVs, you are just like, reject, reject, reject.
I can imagine.
You are not even reading the CV. And I'm not saying that this is okay. It's not okay. But please understand that we are all human. And bad recruiters exist, tired recruiters exist. So sometimes you will just get rejected because the person is not looking in detail into your application. Those things happen. Just continue to apply, right? If people say, no, but I got rejected after 1 second, there are 2 possible scenarios. Either the recruiter was directly sitting there when your application came up, he or she scanned it and decided in the second, or there were killer questions involved, which also has nothing to do with AI. For example, I'm looking for a driver, and my main question is, do you have a driving license? And if you click no, of course, the system is telling reject, right? Or do you have a work permit for this country? Let's say I'm going to apply for a job in Singapore and they ask me, do you have a valid work permit? I have to say no because I'm living in Switzerland. I don't. And probably the system will say reject. Has nothing to do with AI. This is basically, like pure automation. It has nothing to do with AI. But people still, I don't know if they don't want to understand it, but I mean, it's hard to explain. It's really hard to
Yes.
explain.
Yeah.
And this is it. This is how it works.
Wow. And thanks for sharing that. I think as much as there is information on LinkedIn, there is also a lot of misinformation.
Yes.
And you see some people trying to perhaps also bait readers into clicking into their posts, right? And that's when you have all these, different pieces of information floating around, not all of which are factual.
That's it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, especially with this, I believe it is so interesting for people. It's a lot of clickbait because this is a topic which is important to everyone, because everyone has been or is a candidate at a certain stage in their lives, right? So that's why these topics are getting so much heated, I believe.
Yeah, but let's maybe take a step back, right, and go back to your role in HR, right? So, what have you seen is perhaps an overlooked opportunity that a lot of HR leaders are missing right now? So, you are one of the early adopters, you are a huge advocate, but I'm sure you've also seen a lot of people who are still on the fence. What are some of these opportunities that people are not really leveraging?
I think the biggest issue that we have among HR people is the whole topic around fear and is the whole topic about accepting change. So let's leave AI out of it. Let's just say anything, like anything that happens in the organization. For me, HR is the main driver because no one else knows everything about people, policies, and processes more than people in the HR function. They are at the heart of the organization. And if I imagine that I'm an employee and I don't know, the board has decided we're going to adopt AI, but then I see that even my HR department is hesitant on this topic, I would probably be like, oh my God, if they don't trust it, I'm not going to trust it. So it's really, I think it is this understanding of how important we are actually in the role of the AI adoption. I always hear about IT departments, technical departments. Your people are actually the most important driver when it comes to any type of adoption, especially when it comes to AI adoption. And I want to see my people in the organization I work, I want to see them trust in the process, trust in what we are doing in the whole change process. And we can only achieve that if we as an HR department are actually showing, yes, we believe in that, we trust in that. And how do we do that? There are different things that we have to consider. So basically, communication, first of all, is the key. If people are afraid of losing their jobs, communicate, talk to them. I mean, like seriously, it's that easy. Just speak to them and say, hey, we are not planning on, cutting this position off and that position off. We actually want to elevate your role so you can have more time for XYZ. Or we are planning on, we were thinking of hiring a team of 2 in your position. Now we realize we don't need that. Your position is safe. I mean, come
Yes,
on.
yes,
Let's
yes,
just talk to each other, right? It is that easy. It is that easy. And then talking about all of these ethical things. People want to have answers. They want to know, okay, what
yes.
about my data? What about my personal data? They're probably not that much concerned about the organizational data, which is fine, right? But if I'm an employee and I work in, I don't know, doesn't matter which field, but I have to enter some type of personal data, explain to me what's happening with my data. It's that easy. Like just keep your people informed, plus also do some pilot phases and try things before you just bring them to the table, right? You can just simply try it out, do some pilot projects with different parts of the business, and then find out what actually works. And what I like the most is that you should let your employees come to you, and especially to HR, to share their everyday pain and say, okay, I might have a solution for that. Let them experiment. Do not come with one solution and say, this is how we're going to do it. The best implementations I have seen so far is where everyone is involved and where you are actually listening to your employees and to the people that are doing the everyday work.
Wow. I think it's really interesting that you said it's just giving people a safe space, right? And sometimes what people don't do or companies don't do is they don't really communicate. And I think that's where the fear comes from. And I think that being reassured, right, as an employee or as a staff, you will feel so much more confident in, building out your new capacities. You talked about communicating but also coming together and listening to feedback, right? So what in your opinion makes for a great, AI transformation in an organization? What does that look like?
So it's exactly what I have explained. Basically, take your people on board, everyone, but literally everyone. If you go in and you decide something, just without the people, it's not going to work out. So people they want to understand what's happening, why is it happening, how is it happening. You should really have like an action plan in place. I know a lot of companies doing, for example, town halls or any other monthly meetings. This is the best way you can use, right? There is another format that I like actually a lot. I've implemented in the last company I've worked, which is Ask Me Anything together with the CEO or with the managing director, where he has some space answering all the questions, but online, for example, via Slack, let's say, or Microsoft Teams, like whatever you use, because sometimes people are a little bit shy to, raise their hand and ask a question. So again, give them a safe space where they can ask questions without looking stupid. Because I think this is actually the biggest fear of people. They don't want to look stupid. No one wants to look stupid, right? And sometimes I get a question and I don't know the answer. And for me, it's fine because I can simply say, I don't know. But there are a lot of people that are feeling uncomfortable with that. So try to already answer those questions before they, get inside and feel this way. And obviously, making a good transformation, not only involving the people, but having the right tools. And when I say the right tools, I actually mean you already know what you want to solve and you have checked different vendors, different setups, etc. You have already checked for the capabilities, for the budget, you have checked for data security, you have a governance in place. All of these things matter before you go in and just simply buy a tool. You don't just buy a tool. You need to do some type of research before, right? What do we want to actually solve with that? What do we expect from it? The thing here is, don't think that with the very first action you take, everything is going to be like, wow, it's working.
Yeah.
And that's fine because we are learning the best from failures. And that's okay as long as it doesn't cost millions. But as a company, you should obviously take into account your budget, right? So these things are really something where we have to look at when it comes to transforming in the right way.
Interesting. I've spoken to a couple of other founders who also shared that they are leading or helping companies to lead the kind of transformation process, right? What they have noticed also is there seems to be a disconnect between the top-down and bottom-up approach. Have you also seen that?
I see it basically every day, to be very honest.
That's your everyday problem solving in the gaps.
I see it every day because top down sometimes does not understand the everyday workflows that comes from bottom up, right? And again, there is a mismatch of communication. And usually it's that easy. I mean, they just need to talk to each other, right? And in my opinion, it's much better to try to solve this bottom up because those people are sitting there, they are doing like those everyday little workflows that are actually leading us to the success of the whole company and what the organization is actually solving, bringing to the table. Because with those everyday workflows that are happening, we are running our business. And without it, it's not working. It's fantastic if on the top you are deciding for the whole strategy, but the strategy is not bringing any money. The money is there where the operation is happening, right? So everyday operations are bringing in the money. And I mean, simple as that. We need to look at what is bringing in the money, what is making our revenue, where can we obviously cut costs, but how? So if someone tells me every day I need to, prepare all the personal data of each and every one candidate, then I would say this is lost money, right? Because this is such an admin repetitive task. Let's try to see how we can solve this with AI. Still having the position, but the person can still focus on their main work, which is, for example, recruiting and finding the right talent instead of typing in some information or interview notes about the candidate, just to give a super, super easy example.
Yeah, and what have you seen drive the most success? So do you need to set up a task force to implement AI? Should HR be driving it? Should it be a ground-up approach? What have you noticed so far?
HR should definitely have a seat at the table. And as I explained before, I think without HR, we cannot even drive this process. Again, HR leaders, you know your people. You exactly know your people. You know how they work. You know your processes. You know your policies. You need to have a seat at the table and you need to be involved from the very beginning. So not only that, the board is coming to you and saying, now we're going to implement, but you actually, so HR people need to be the one saying, this is how we're going to do it. Because from previous transformation, not AI, but there have been some change management activities in every organization all the years ago, right? So from previous transformation, you know exactly how your people react. You know how fast or how slow they are. You know what they need, or you have learned what they need because you received the feedback, and you also know where the errors come from. So you can already prevent those things. And this is why every management, every board should really consider to take HR from the very beginning in. Because without HR, the cost you pay in the end will be much higher.
Yeah, and like what you said, right, they are the heart of the company and they understand the people. And as much as we love AI, but it's people using AI that's going to lead to more successful results. I know you've mentioned a couple of tools or workflows that you've also been looking into. Currently, what does your tool stack look like? Are you also using agents? What does life look like for you?
So basically, I have a kind of a small tool stack from my side. I think the bigger tools are on the side where I, consult my clients and what they work with, because obviously I don't have an HR department. It's just myself and another colleague. So it's the two of us. So I don't have an HR department myself. But yeah, so on my side, I mainly use LLMs. ChatGPT is still one of my favorites, but sometimes I like to, to switch to Claude or Gemini. I love Notion. I use Fireflies and Otter for transcribing, client meetings and stuff like this. And I absolutely love Manus for creating my workshops and trainings. So basically, I use Manus every day. Gamma, of course. I mean, I think I couldn't live without Gamma. It's always there. And I have created some, little agents that are helping me with my emails, with N8N, for example. I have automated some things with make.com, right? So I'm every day also experimenting on myself and working on myself. Like, how can I automate certain things on my side? Like, for example, writing bills, sending out emails, calendar invites, all of these things. I'm still looking something to help me with LinkedIn. I have not found a good solution because apparently we always get punished if we use something for LinkedIn.
I like to say for LinkedIn, I built my own custom GPTs because then it has a human voice, and then
Yes.
it has a human touch. But yeah, super cool to hear that you're using AI tools on so many fronts. Tell us more a bit about Manners, right? Because I know it's an AI agent platform, but a lot of people haven't heard of it. How do you use it, and what kinds of use cases have you found with it?
So Manus, I think I don't even remember how I came across it. I don't even remember, but I know that I have signed up, and I think it was a few months ago, for this like beta, program. And then I got in and I was super excited. I was like, okay, wow, this is interesting. And then I started to realize that it can actually, really take on multiple tasks at the same time. So it can do research, it can prepare something, and it can pull all this information together, which was very interesting for me because it is one prompt, but you can get so much out of it. And I started to realize that it can work much better with complex tasks compared to ChatGPT back then. I don't remember which version it was. I think it was GPT-4 back, I don't know, or 3.5. But anyways, so Manus it was just much better when it comes to the output, right? And less for me to correct it. So I really had this type of wow effect, seeing like it's actually delivering what I want without me explaining so much, which I had with the other large language models. So then I started to give it, some tasks like creating a bit more complex workshops, and it worked out very, very well. And then I also worked on it for a transformation where I was responsible for with a client, and it also gave, like amazing steps that we could follow. So I can only recommend it for these type of more complex thinking. I think it's very good.
Wow. I think for people who are listening, if you haven't checked it out, I have heard quite a lot of AI first founders talking about it, and I know it's a very powerful tool. But going back to the more human side of things, right? What are some potential pitfalls or limitations that you have noticed or you think people should watch out for when it comes to using AI, whether it's in HR or, in job applications or recruitment?
So I think it will never be able to replace empathy, for example. And for I want to feel the person I connect with. When we talk about recruitment, and I spoke about it yesterday as well, if we talk about recruitment and I apply for a job, I'm expecting something because I'm reading the job description and I'm getting excited about you, about your company. So now I want to feel your company culture and I want to see, what is it like to work at this company? I see that some companies started to experiment with AI avatars on the other side, so basically me as a candidate being interviewed by an AI avatar. I'm not a fan of that. I think this is something that should definitely, stay human. And the feedback I have received from many candidates was like, oh, it's a nightmare and I don't like it. And it feels so strange to talk to a
Yeah.
computer.
Wow.
while even some other people were saying, talking about those AI video interviews, they were like, actually, it's nice if I can just press repeat, you know? Well,
I can imagine, yes.
it
Like,
has its pros and cons, right?
yes, but I think because of your job function, I think it's like compared to so many other job functions, it has to still retain that humanness. Otherwise, it's very easy for people to distance themselves, lose touch, and maybe lose that essence of what we are supposed to be doing as a HR team.
Exactly. And in my last newsletter, I was actually speaking about this, like, are we becoming more or less human now with the use of AI? And I read it once and I really like it. It said that probably we are realizing more what it means to be human now
Mm,
that we are having AI. And I think this is beautiful. I think it's true. I think
yes.
there is a lot in this quote because we start to realize how important actually human connection is. Yes, you can work every day, whole day with all your AI tools and LLMs and even talk to them, but I think you are still craving for some type of, like human connection. And again, talking about, I don't know, empathy, talking about the fact how does someone react when you deliver like great news, like me and my best friend, we are like, wow, we are rooting and cheering for each other. That's something AI cannot replace. Or crying together, right, if there is some bad news to deliver. So all of these things, I think we start to understand that actually we need to be more human than ever, or we realize what was missing all this time, because we were just so lost in our remote and digital work, especially with social media. People have never been more connected, but more lonely.
Yes.
That's, I mean, those things. So it's great to have all of these tools, but being human remains, I mean, obviously at the core.
Yes, definitely. I think it's also interesting that we have maybe a new batch of folks who are just graduating and they're in a space where they weren't taught AI, but yet they now have to enter a workforce where they have to pick up new skill sets and maybe they wouldn't have had the experience that someone else would have in the past. So in my case, I was trained as a copywriter with a big ad agency, right? But right now, someone new is going to come in and they may not even get the chance to learn the foundational skill sets and yet are expected to pick up new AI skills. So do you have any words of advice for the new wave of folks who are trying to navigate everything that is out there while searching for a job?
I think this goes more into psychology. At least I have a background in psychology, so I can tell a little bit about it. But I think it's very, very individual, and we still need to think of the fact that everyone is different, right? So for me, for example, I'm curious, I'm getting very excited when it comes to AI. I like to experiment, and I completely leave out the fear. While other people are getting more controlled by the feeling of fear, and they are approaching it a different way. And if we are looking at this younger generation talking about navigating, move in the direction where you feel comfortable. So if you feel like, hey, I'm interested in this and I, want to learn more about it, you go for it. But if you don't, I mean, obviously, those are skills that you need to have. But let's compare it, I don't know, to Microsoft Office, for example. Everyone that gets employed, they are expected to be able to navigate it. You have to know how Outlook works, how PowerPoint works, da, 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 da. Some people say, okay, I know how to navigate it and I know how it works, but I don't like it. I don't like to work so much with it, which is fine. So you just stay in this field and you are looking for something that actually makes you happy, right? So if you don't like AI and you are not so excited about this topic, you're probably not going to work for a tech startup, and you shouldn't. And they are still another businesses out there. I mean, not everything will get replaced by AI, right? I think there is this lady, Cody Sanchez, and she's always talking about boring businesses.
Yeah.
Let's just think about normal businesses that will still be around, like people repairing your car, plumbers, working in a hotel or in a restaurant where you have to be human. So you say, I don't want this AI skills. I want to work with humans only. Go into service, because in service, everything is expected to be human, right? You should definitely go and choose your path. This is what I would say to this younger generation.
Wow. And I really like that you're not telling them that there's only one way and there are still many
Yes.
options. And even though things are changing, you don't necessarily have to lean into one path only, and there are still options. But what about the people who are currently working, who are, in jobs where companies are doing transformations and they are also feeling nervous? What words of advice do you have for them?
Just go for it. Go all in. I mean, no, really, really. I always say don't, I mean, when you don't try, you don't know, right? So I cannot say I don't like something if I have never tried it. I know there is a lot of people out there that are thinking this way, but I'm very direct. So I usually say, you cannot say that. So go ahead and try it. And I mean, usually I blame the companies because I say it's your responsibility to train the people accordingly. Again, I cannot just come in and say, this is our new solution, we're going to work with it, and you figure out how it works. No, we cannot expect people to be happy with this type of solution. So that's why first I blame the organization and I say, you need to make sure that the people are having the right frame. So they are getting the training, they're getting everything from your side. So they feel confident to navigate this change. And if you have received everything from the organization already, then it depends on you. So, I mean, come on, the world is changing, things are changing. And if you don't want to adapt, so if you're really this type of person that says, I don't want to, then probably you are going to lose your job. And then probably someone will replace you and probably they will make your job redundant. But then it is your own fault.
Yes, I think it's that balance, right, between you are comfortable where you're at right now, but the world is also changing. So, do you want to take that step forward and at least be open-minded enough to try? Or otherwise, if, like what you just said, if AI isn't for you, there are still many opportunities that are more human-led, and that could be something we look into. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing all your insights, Magdalena. Perhaps you have one more tip for people who are working in HR. What is that one piece of advice you have for them?
So there is not one magic formula, but so I'm happy to drive you to my profile. Maybe you can share it as well because you can download the free playbook where I'm also mentioning some tools. We were not going into detail about all of the tools. It would take too much time, but I'm sharing some type of checklist, some types of tools that you can try in HR as well. And for the rest, just be open. I mean, really just be open and don't be afraid. Just go in and try and really think of AI as a partner that will only free up your time so that you can actually focus on what you love, which is the people. Because I always assume that if you work in HR, you work there because you love people. I hope so. And then you can really get more time to focus on these people. Always remember, why have I started a career in HR? And usually the answer will always be because of the people. And now with AI, you have the magic that you have been waiting for. So just take it.
Thank you for your energy, your passion, and your enthusiasm. If you guys are listening to this podcast, I think you can sense how excited Magdalena is. And in fact, it's the same enthusiasm that I myself carry when I explore AI. So thank you again for sharing that, Magdalena. Where can folks find you and who should reach out to you?
Thank you so much, Audrey. It was a pleasure to talking to you. And yeah, again, so you can find me on LinkedIn. You can send me an email, magdalena@magnate-hr.com. You can just contact me on LinkedIn. And usually to me, who is reaching out is HR leaders, CFOs, board members, like people that really want to make a difference in their HR team, or people that want to know how to approach AI adoption, or people who want to know how to deal with the people in the AI adoption. So feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to, join you and to consult you on this topic and the intersection of AI in HR.
Awesome. Thank you, folks, for tuning in. And don't forget to hit the bell for more actionable AI and marketing insights. We will see you next week. Take care.